Hello, Black family, and welcome to the YouTube channel, The Big Black American Secret. I'm Daniel Jackson, and today I want to share with you something that's very tragic that's taking place in my personal life. Yesterday, I witnessed my son, Miles Jackson, be executed in Columbus, Ohio, in an emergency room at Mount Carmel St. Anne's Hospital. I'm going to show you an edited version of that video that the police put out in his dash cam, video cam video. I forget what they call it, but it's what the officers have on their bodies that they provided. And it was not hard for me to watch, but I had to watch it because I need to know what happened. You understand? It's not natural for children to leave this world before their parents. And it's not a feeling I would wish on anybody. But before I get started into that, and I don't want any copyright claims, this video I'm going to show you is for educational purposes only, fair use. Before we get started, I'm going to read the goal of this channel like I do in all of my most recent videos, because it's very important that we all understand how we got here. You understand what I'm saying? And what's the system that has been causing all of our problems, okay? So the goal of this channel is to build an unstoppable army of knowledgeable black melanated people in America and around the world that understand that we as melanated people have one enemy worldwide, and that enemy is the system of racism, white supremacy. Our mission through education is to replace this evil system with a system of freedom, justice, and equality as laid out by Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. We will need your help in building this knowledgeable army. You can help by subscribing to this channel, by donating to this cause through Cash App or PayPal, and by sharing any video you watch here or any knowledge that is shared. In doing so, together we help fertilize the mentally enslaved, colonized minds of melanated people worldwide, creating the perfect mental conditions for our children to grow up in a better, more balanced world. Just a little background on me. I am an Aboriginal American. I am a Native American. I am a Native American. Okay? On my mother's side, grandfather's side. On my grandfather's side, I come from a line of Chief, Blackfoot Indian. On my grandmother's side, line of Chief, Sioux Indian. I myself now am a chief. My son was a young warrior, taken from me by these race soldiers who are in the employment of this United States of a government who is at the helm of this government, Joe Biden, our president. Okay? Now, the United States of America is a cooperation. It's a company. That's why you have a president, a vice president, a secretary, and a treasurer. It is a company. It is a cooperation, a foreign cooperation, European corporation operating on foreign soil. On this soil, I am sovereign. These laws don't pertain to me and my people. They have been forced upon us because we've been told we are not Aboriginal Americans. We have been told that we're not Native Americans. Our identity has been stolen, or is trying to be stolen. Today, you're going to see what I'm talking about. I'm going to go through it all like I do in most of my videos, but today is very special. My son was executed. He was kidnapped, held hostage, he was in a mental health crisis, on drugs. They did not thoroughly pat him down and take any weapons off him that he could use to harm himself or others. They failed in their job to secure his safety. That is unacceptable, which caused them to execute him, as this government has done to black people in America and around the world. Unacceptable, and this shit ends today, Joe Biden. I'm addressing this to you. You are our commander-in-chief. I am a chief. So from chief to chief, I'm communicating directly to you because this falls squarely on your shoulders. as you are in charge. As president of the United States of America, your role is no different than a CEO, Chief Operating Officer. It is your responsibility to remove this racist culture off of the United States of America. It is your job, Joe Biden, to remove racism from the United States of America. You must be a shining example of someone who can do that. Because if you cannot do that, you must resign immediately, because my son's death will be avenged. If you cannot bring me justice, justice will be had. That is a solemn promise, one chief to another chief. Please understand, I don't believe in violence. I do believe in self-defense with lethal force if need be. I have a natural right to protect my family, my property, and my person. My son has been taken away from me, and this will be made right. Now, before I get into this, again, I just pointed out to you the United States of America is an illegal cooperation operating on foreign soil, our soil, the Black American soil. We've been made to believe, because of identity theft, that we're West African slaves or the descendants of West African slaves. I will dissolve that mystery today, that fallacy today. But first, I'm going to show you this very hard to watch video. But again, it must be seen. And while it's an edited version, this is not uncut because it comes from a news feed. But I'm gonna say a few things here and there. Okay? I'm gonna turn this around and hopefully you can see it, and we'll get going.
Why did I leave it first?
We don't know. That's the great unknown, my man. That's the great unknown. The medics took you.
You might call it the calm before the storm. You were listening there. As police chat up a suspect, they would end up shooting less than 10 minutes later. Tonight, we're getting a police eye view of what happened inside the emergency department at St. Anne's Hospital in Westerville on Monday.
And we're also getting a look at how Westerville police originally handled bringing Miles Jackson in to see the doctors. Have a look here. Investigators with the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation are looking to see if the two officers followed proper policy. You can see one of them giving Jackson what looks like a light pat down in this portion of the video. Jackson,
and he just said a light pat down, so they didn't thoroughly make sure that he wasn't unarmed. That's something they should have made sure, that he was not a threat to himself or others.
Through the chaotic minutes inside the emergency room.
So that's strike number one.
Miles Jackson being asked to get off the gurney so officers can collect his things.
I'm gonna grab all this stuff, put it in this bag, okay?
An officer pulls out a pack.
And remember, he's not in his right state of mind. He's high on heroin.
Sharp in your pockets, do you? Hopefully somebody would have caught that earlier. Uh-oh. Got a little bullet action.
He continues patting Jackson down, then feels something and motions to his partner.
He has his arm behind his back right now.
The officers struggle to get Jackson handcuffed.
You're on my arm! Give me your hand now! You're on my arms, man. You really is on my arms, man.
Get security, man.
I'm going to fly, man. I'm going to fly, bro.
An officer tases Jackson, bringing him to the floor.
He's a tase, which means he's further attacked. He has a right to defend himself.
Then one from an officer, but his gun jams. Jackson moves behind the gurney. The other officers and security are outside the room.
Get your right hand up! We're trying! Other hand!
Officers yell at Jackson to get his hands up and drop his weapon 85 times and for nearly 5 minutes.
I'm scared if I move, y'all gonna shoot.
And he kept saying that, I'm scared if I move, y'all gonna shoot me. He said that like a whole bunch of times. A bunch of times.
Put your hands up now! Get your hand up, dude. You got about 4 guns on you. You make a wrong move and you're gone. You understand that?
Officers continue to yell for Jackson to raise his hands.
Put your hand on your head.
Do you have a taser, Dan?
Yep.
About a minute later, that officer fires her taser. Then gunfire lasting about 10 seconds.
and they cut the sound, but it was about 18 gunshots.
Hospital spokesperson for Mount Carmel says its safety and security officers do not
So,
notify the camera.
and again, for me, that was extremely hard to watch. I had to watch it because, again, that's my son, and you know, I need to see every damn thing. Okay. All right. So, and again, the goal of this channel, I mean, the goal of this particular video is to address this racist corporation called the United States of America and Joe Biden, who sits at the head of this corporation, to use his executive powers right now to make these killings of innocent black people go away by way of executive order. Police officers going forward must have insurance, personal insurance on themselves as police officers, because when they fuck up and kill another black person, another indigenous American to this soil, that insurance policy should take care of those families. Our taxpayer dollars should not be paying for these fuck ups by the police. When the police don't feel this shit personally, they're going to continue doing it. They are not punished. They don't feel it financially, and they don't feel it personally because they are not held to proper standards like you and I. If I kill somebody, I'm going to jail for murder. If a police officer kills somebody, like these race soldiers killed my son, they get paid leave and almost a no jail time. And that has to end. It ends now. Okay? They have no incentive to change their behavior. And that is what the system of racism wants. The domestic police department is the local civilian arm, enforcement arm of the system of racism, white supremacy. I'm going to say that again. The local police departments nationwide is the enforcement arm of the system of racism, white supremacy. And again, we are sovereign citizens. All black Americans are sovereign to this soil. Technically, the laws of the United States of America do not apply to us. We're sovereign. This is what they've kept from us. The Indians in our history book, that's a Mongolian breed of Asian that come across the Bering Straits 12,000 years ago. This is what leading paleontologists tell us. And if you look at your 2020 census, where it says American Indian, these people are Eskimos. No more, no less. When the Europeans came here and they concocted the scheme to steal the identity of the Aboriginal Americans, and we'll get into that, they saw the Mongolian breed of Asian type of, we want to call them Indians still, Eskimos, and they said if we need to get rid of these people, it's a small number of them, we can easily get rid of them and take their identity, or we could put them in concentration camps, reservations. Now, the millions of black and brown-skinned people walking around here by the millions, so-called red man, we'll tell people we brought them here as West African slaves. Now, identity theft didn't only take place here in America. Identity theft also took place in Europe. The white European took the identity of the black Aboriginal European. I'm going to prove that to you right now. I'm going to Google something for you, and then we're going to read it. Now, what this I'm going to read is going to show you that, well, let me back up a little bit. They're always telling us that we're the minority, which makes us think that numerically we're a small group of people. But numerically, we are the majority, always have been. That's why they go out of their way to, what do you call it, red line, shift voting situations, because they know numerically our numbers are great, but they mentally tell us we're minorities, and they're majorities. In all of their census records, it'll tell us that the black population is, matter of fact, I got to pull up here. It says 300 million people as of 2020 in the United States. Of that population, so-called African Americans, false title given to us by Jesse Jackson in the 80s, that weasel, are the second largest racial minority, comprising an estimated 13.4% of the population, which is bullshit. And I'm gonna prove that to you right here with this definition. I mean, with this what I'm gonna pull up. This is a document from 1751. This is a direct, what they call it, primary source from Benjamin Franklin. And I'm gonna turn this around. Benjamin Franklin, him. And this is a paper he wrote called The Observations Concerning the Increase of Mankind in 1751. Europe wanted to send a shitload of German people here. They called them Palatine Boers at the time. And Benjamin Franklin was pissed about it. He was highly upset about it. I'm going to read this and it'll explain to you why. And again, I'm reading this because it is going to show you a few things. It's going to prove to you that black people and brown people have always been on this continent. And when I say brown people, I am not talking about fucking Mexicans. We have to understand that black, brown, and red are all just black people. What racist Europeans did, they took brown people and gave that to Mexicans, which Mexicans are Mongolian, just like the Native American. That's the Mongolian breed. They belong in the yellow category. So you only have black, yellow, and white as category colors. This middle category, yellow, comprises your Mongolian breed, and white, of course, are your Caucasians. Your Indians and your Mexicans go in this category, okay? And your Chinese, all of those are Mongolians. Us, black people, are also your brown and your red. We got to stop calling Mexican people brown. That's stupid. It's unnatural, and it allows them to keep hiding and shifting our identity. But anyway, I'm going to start reading this about the second to the last paragraph down, and this is Benjamin Franklin, his own words from what he saw and observed himself. It says, and since detachment of England from Britain, since sent to America, will have their place at home so soon supplied and increased so largely, why should the Palatine Boers be suffered to swarm into our settlement, and by herding together establish their language and manners in exclusion of ours? Why should Pennsylvania, founded by the English, become a colony of aliens who will shortly be so numerous as to Germanize us? Get it? The Germans are the Palatine Boers. As instead of us anglifying them, and will never adopt our language or customs any more than they can acquire our complexion. He has a problem with their complexion, along with their language and customs, but mainly their complexion. And I'll keep reading. Which leads me to one remark, that the number of purely white people in the world is proportionally very small. See? White people proportionally very small, always have been. That's why they play these games on us, and that's how they're able to control us through lies. Okay? All Africa is black or tawny. Asia, chiefly tawny, and tawny is brown. It's a brown color. America, exclusive of the newcomers, which are them, the colonizers, wholly so. Wholly so what? Black or tawny. Black or brown. All of America, exclusive of the newcomers, wholly so. See, we were already here by the millions. And in Europe, the Spaniard, the Italians, the French, the Russians, and Swedes are generally of what we call a swarthy complexion. And swarthy means dark skin. It's black skinned. They're dark skinned. The Aboriginal Europeans were like you and I, melanated. We always thought European, all white. Not the case. Not the case. People, you on the right channel. I don't know why you're here, but you're here now. You are in this fight. If you are a black American, you are in this fight. If you are a white person who is fed up with racism, white supremacy, you are here now. If you are any other race and you're fed up with the system of racism, white supremacy, and you want Joe Biden to do the right thing, not only pay reparations, not only fix these problems with our race soldiers, but to eliminate it altogether and make America the country it can be, because we can coexist if we eliminate racism, white supremacy. We can pull this shit off. You understand what I'm saying? We can do this shit. Now I'm going to keep reading. And in Europe, the Spaniards, the Italians, the French, the Russians, the Swedes are what we generally call a swarthy complexion, a dark complexion. As are the Germans also. Germans are black. They're dark-skinned. See? Aboriginal Europeans, just like Aboriginal Americans. We are Aboriginal people to every fucking continent. There is no out of Africa theory. All bullshit. They do not allow digging down 3,000 years ago to 2.8 million years ago. They found the jawbone of a Homo sapien in Ethiopia. They said down 2.8 million years in Ethiopia. That's why they say all black people come out of Africa. Well, they don't allow digging down that far on any other continent. So the out of Africa theory does not hold water. You understand what I'm saying? All bullshit to give the white European ownership of America and Europe. They don't mind if you think you're from Africa. That's what they want you to think, because that puts your mindset in the state of what they told you were, a slave. Please understand this. All head games. Now, Russians, Swedes, complexions, so are the Germans. The Saxons only accepted, who with the English make up the principal body of white people on the face of the earth. Numerically speaking, white people who claim to be white, the white-skinned people, very small numbers. We are in the millions. Our numbers are huge. Joe Biden, hear me when I tell you, numerically speaking, you're outnumbered. Please understand this. You have woken up a sleeping giant. The black American, the Aboriginal American, is a sleeping giant. Y'all have poked the wrong fucking bear when y'all executed and murdered my son. The truth comes out now. No turning back. 100% full steam ahead. Racism and white supremacy cannot stand up to the truth. And here it is. Saxons only accepted with the English make up the principal body of white people on the face of the earth. I could wish their numbers were increased. He wished it was more white people. And while we are, as I may call it, scoring our planet by clearing America of woods, they're cutting down trees and sending some wood to England, and they're building plantations and homes, you know. And so making this side of the globe reflect a brighter light to eyes of inhabitants in Mars and Venus. So like if you was way up there in the stars and you look down by they cutting down trees, they're making this side of the planet more clear of woods, which is the same thing as him saying a more whiter country, white like him, white people. Eyes of Venus. Why should we, in the sight of superior beings, darken its people? Why increase the sons of Africa by planting them in America? You see what I'm saying? All of the Europeans, other than them, are dark-skinned like Africans. They're melanated. Why bring them here to England? I mean, to America, from England, where we have so fair an opportunity by excluding all blacks and tawnies, or browns, all black and brown people, of increasing the lovely white and red. White people and red people. The Indians were considered the red men. Hold that thought. But perhaps I am partial to the complexion of my country, for such kind is partial to, or it's natural to all mankind. Racist as the fuck, I get it, but he was true to what the fuck he meant. He didn't want no more dark-skinned people over here. Now, he said, increasing the lovely white and red. The copper penny, by definition, and I'll pull it up, it is a, let's see if I can pull it up here, the color of the copper penny. Okay. Okay. I'm going to turn this around. It says, to accurately grade copper coins, you must be able to describe the color of the copper. Over time, the brilliant orange-red color of a freshly minted copper penny, such as a Lincoln coin, will diminish and fade to a deep chocolate brown color. A deep chocolate brown color. People, but you know what? Okay, deep chocolate brown. Let me see if it will go a little further. As this degradation of color occurs, there is a varying degree of both red and brown colors. The red man, get it? And brown colors will exist simultaneously on the surface of the coin. This color designation only applies to uncirculated copper coins. All circulated copper coins are assumed to be brown. Brown. Listen, people. When I tell you our identity has been slowly they try to steal it on a regular basis, let me ask you a question. Would you say that matches the color of the back of my hand? It's damn near identical. We're just different shades of brown. From very light-skinned, damn near white, some of us, to mahogany, blue-black, some of us. But we're all just varying shades of brown or red. You understand what I'm saying? Now, let's get to the identity theft, because that's real important. Now, what I have pulled up here is Noah Webster's Dictionary of the definition of American in the year 1828. And remember, this is a copper-colored penny, identical to the color of the back of my hand. It says, American, a noun, a native of America, originally applied to the Aboriginals, that's the people who come from the dirt, Aboriginal, or copper-colored races found here by the Europeans. Now, this last sentence is very important because this is the identity theft. American, but now applies to the descendants of Europeans born in America. The descendants of Europeans born in America. This is why when white people get angry at foreigners, they always say, y'all need to go back to where y'all come from, because they think that this land belongs to them, when all the time they're the foreigners. Everybody in America who's here has something in front of their title. African Americans, Black Americans, Chinese Americans, Native Americans, Jamaican Americans, you name it, American, white people, Europeans are the only people that don't have something in front of that American. It's just American. You see what's been taking place here all of this time? They've been stealing our identity, our land, our labor, and our resources, all the while feeding us this bullshit that we from West Africa. We're West African slaves. When the transatlantic slave trade was not only told to us in reverse, it was a cover story for a real slave trade that took place here. And I'm going to show you what that slave trade is. See, this is war, people. Always have been war. We've been at war on this continent for 529 years. The Roman Catholic Church in 1493, right after Christopher Columbus came here and introduced those first slaves to Spain, the Roman Catholic Church made a decree, a declaration, gave Spain the right to colonize the indigenous people of the Americas, to rape, rob, murder, and enslave, if they did not take on the Christian religion. After Spain, then all the other European nations got involved on the slave trade here in America. I'm going to pull up this slave trade that no one told you about. European colonies purchased indigenous people as slaves as part of the International Indigenous American Slave Trade, which lasted from the 15th century, that's the 1400s, remember Christopher Columbus, until the 19th century, which is the 1800s. There were 94 documented Indian wars on this land for the sole purpose of slave catching, but you never heard nothing about that. They said that they could not enslave the native peoples. They would run away, hide, so therefore they had to go get West African slaves starting in 1619. This slave trade started in the 1400s and lasted way after. Those 20-odd slaves that came in 1619 were Indians. They were pirated off a Spanish ship in the Caribbean island. The reason we know this is, of the 20, 11 of their names were recorded. Those Indians from the Caribbean islands had already been baptized and given Spanish names. Therefore, they didn't come in as chattel slaves. They came in as indentured servants. All Google searches, people. I ain't telling you nothing that's deep. My goal here is to tell you 100% and prove to you this fight is real. Our people will continue to be murdered in the street like dogs with rabies unless we know exactly who the fuck we is and whose land we're standing on. You are an Aboriginal American. You are sovereign on this soil, and this shit belongs to you. The United States of America is an illegal corporation operating on foreign soil. They are illegal. They don't belong here. They did not make treaties with me or my people. They made treaties and didn't hold water to none of them, and then they fuck up our identity, blows everything out of the water. We have to start over, people. Joe Biden, you are at the top of this cooperation. You have a responsibility to erase racism off the fucking face of this earth, starting in America. And you can do it, my man. I got faith in you. And if you can't do it, step your ass down. Step your ass down. Because we outnumber you. We are citizen fighters against racism, and there are millions of us. I'm counting probably about 250 million of us. And most of us work in civil positions, police departments, governmental agencies. You feel what I'm saying? Please, if you think you're going to continue this bullshit, you will not. Again, you're outnumbered. Always have been. You've wakened a sleeping giant. You've poked the wrong fucking bear. Now, where was I at? We just blew a hole in the transatlantic slave trade. I just told you that you are an Aboriginal American, and I showed you a definition from the year 1828 who proves to you who you are, and that racist white Europeans have been stealing your identity, land, labor, and resources. I don't know what else to show you, people. I honestly don't know what else to show you. But I am going to say this. Get in this fight. If seeing George Floyd be murdered affected you, you have a duty to join my YouTube channel. Get yourself educated on who you are. And let me say this. When they tell you at 21andMe and all those other DNA tests, that's scientific racism. No different than eugenics. Those people created those databases to convince you that you are from wherever they say you are from. You cannot take DNA from dry bones and compare it with a living person and tell you nothing about it. It doesn't work. On the packages themselves, it'll say this information is for entertainment purposes only. You cannot use that in a court of law. You can only use DNA in courts of law from living person to living person. Paternity tests, rape kits. You cannot use it for DNA because it's scientific racism. Please understand what I'm telling you. I teach. Look on the description. $49 information only, $199 coaching and hand-holding. People, I need for you to do your own genealogy. These are paper documents starting with your birth certificate, your parents' birth certificates, their parents' birth certificates, marriage licenses, census records, going back to the 1500s. Everything is documented. Freedom of Information Act has opened up all of these avenues. They can no longer hide this shit. They just hoping that you remain ignorant and believe the lies that they've been pushing. Game's over. Game's over. They've murdered one too many of us. One too many of us. You understand what I'm telling you? I have pushed and pushed and pushed. Now it's time for you to accept. I'm a chief. I'm addressing the chief, Commander-in-Chief of the United States of America, Joe Biden. And I know what my government does to blackmail masculine men when they stand up. They murder them. They do whatever they can, any tricky shit that they can pull. But guess what, Joe Biden? Come for me. Please come for me. I'm ready. I've made my peace. But I will not go alone. I will take as many of you motherfucking race soldiers with me, guaranteed. But what you can do, instead of wasting this energy on this old bullshit of murdering people and trying to defame people, use that energy on getting rid of the system of racism, white supremacy. Leave a legacy for your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren. You can do this. Joe Biden, you can do this. This old shit ain't gonna work. This old shit will not work. This is a challenge from me to you. Make this shit happen. Hold your people accountable for when they murder my people. I can no longer have you as a chief continue to kill my people on my soil. And on that note, I'm ending this. But it ain't over. It's your move.